Hi, welcome back to our channel. Welcome to another video on the update of the situation here in China. Today is Friday the 7th of February. The first news, or the big news here, is that the doctor that first sort of made people aware of the outbreak died last night. And there was a massive outpouring of sympathy on Chinese social media about that. There's also quite a lot of people angry about because as you may be aware, this doctor was sort of reprimanded by the police and sort of ticked off for suggesting that there was a SARS-like virus that had been discovered in a hospital in Wuhan. Now, the situation may have been very different if people had took a bit more notice of that and he hadn't have been silenced by the authorities. However, a lot of people are saying that the city of Wuhan would have maybe been shut down a bit earlier, and I would in a way argue a little bit against that, because I think the problem with these kind of things is you can't just shut down a city of 11 million people on a handful of cases. What did happen is the medical authorities started an investigation and conducted that investigation. Once there was some evidence that there were more cases of the virus, that it was a new virus, and they had some indication that it may pass from person to person, they did take action pretty swiftly. Now, a lot of people are also saying that 5 million people left Wuhan because of this virus before the authorities locked down the city. Again, that is not strictly true. Although the authorities did announce the lockdown of the city before they actually locked it down, sort of maybe 24 hours or slightly less before they actually locked it down, a lot of those sort of people had already left the city some days before, and the main reason of that was not because they left the city thinking they would get the virus. It's because it was coming up to Chinese New Year, and that's what many people do at Chinese New Year. They travel abroad, they leave the cities to go back to their hometown. So I think it would be very interesting to later, if there's an investigation into that. I do believe it's wrong to silence people, and this is one of the problems that there is with censorship here in China. And actually, there's another YouTuber, Daniel Dombrill, who's made quite an interesting video today and he's gone a lot more deeper into this. So maybe pop over to his channel when at the end of this video and have a look at there, see what you think. So today's numbers. Now, obviously by the time you're watching this video, some of these numbers may have changed, but these are the numbers I have at the time I made the video. So the number of confirmed cases is 31,476. Suspected cases has risen to 26,359. There are now 638 people who have died from the situation, and there are 1,566 people who've recovered. Although the death toll is rising significantly each day, what's a sort of maybe a bit of light at the end of the tunnel is also the recovery rate is rising quicker than the fatality rate, which in my opinion is pretty good sign. So that's positive news. There's a number of people commenting in the comments section on some of my previous updates that are suggesting that the Chinese authorities didn't act quickly, or they haven't done enough. I don't completely agree with that at all. I think that what you've got to do, I would like to sort of examine a timeline, and that's something I plan to do in another video in the future. Maybe when this crisis has died down a little bit, I may do a timeline of the whole sort of unfolding of events and where we've got to, but that's for a later video. But what I would say is, I think people who've never been to China really need to get an idea of the scale of this. So the city of the province of Hubei has 60 million people, and they are getting approximately 2,000 to 3,000 people a day that are becoming ill. Now, if you look at that in terms of, say, the UK, for example, that would be like shutting down the whole of the UK and the NHS having to deal with 2,000 to 3,000 new cases per day. And I honestly believe that the NHS would just not be able to cope with that whatsoever. And I also feel that, if that happened in the UK, there would be riots, there'd be looting going on. It would be absolute chaos. So I think really the authorities here should be somewhat commended for what they have done. The province of Hubei has a bigger population than the whole of New York. It also has a bigger population of LA, Chicago and Houston all put together. So the task here is absolutely immense, and I think as I said at the beginning, it's really difficult for people in other countries, much smaller countries, to really get a grip on just how many people there are and how big the cities are here. Okay, there's a cruise ship that's being quarantined in a Japanese port. I did mention this in my yesterday's update. Overnight, the Japanese authorities have found approximately another 40 confirmed cases on that ship. And obviously the rest of the passengers need to remain in quarantine for the present time. Right, there's a lot of concern about a business meeting that took place in January in the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Singapore. It was a sales meeting of a large multinational company. At this time, the name of the company has not been released, but there were about 110 employees or salespeople from all over the world attended that meeting. And one of the attendees was a gentleman from Wuhan, and there's now been another 3 cases of 3 more people who were at that meeting who've contracted the virus. Now, the WHO have said they're really concerned about this because it confirms that more evidence of person-to-person transmission. But also it could be the sort of seat of a wider outbreak, and the reason that is more than 90 of those people have actually already left Singapore and travelled back to their countries in many different areas around the world. So that is really something that is quite concerning. The WHO have launched an investigation, obviously, to try and track and quarantine as many of those people as possible. On Thursday, Chinese health authorities started a clinical trial using a drug called remdesivir, I believe is the pronunciation. It's a drug from an American company. And in lab trials on monkeys and mice, it's proven to fight the virus quite well. It's also proved that it's safe. It was used in the Ebola crisis, and it seems to be safe to use on people, although in that case it didn't do anything to fight Ebola. Another thing about this drug, it was used on one of the first patients in the USA, and following its use, the following day the patient's symptoms improved. So hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed. Again, it's another bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So it is an experimental trial at the moment, but I'm sure if it is successful, it will be rolled out more widely. Also, scientists from the Hong Kong University claim to have now developed a test that can give results in 40 minutes. I believe they have to do a little bit more testing just to make 100% sure it's accurate, or as accurate as the tests that take longer. But if that is the case, that will massively speed up the diagnosis to see whether people are testing positive or negative. Obviously that will be a massive help in fighting the virus, due to the fact that one of the reasons there is such a problem in Hubei is that they just can't get people tested quick enough. So again, that's another bit of light at the end of the tunnel in this ongoing situation. And just to finish off the update for today, is how technology is affected in this situation. So the first one is that many people with iPhones that have Face ID only are really starting to find an issue in here. They are going shopping to buy necessities and groceries, and they want to pay for their groceries using their phones, but they're finding they're having to remove their masks because the Face ID is not working when they're wearing their masks. And there's a lot of online chatter about that. You know, they really wished Apple would bring the fingerprint ID back to those phones, because in these cases where you have to wear a mask, and I'm sure even after the this current situation is cleared up here in China, that many people will continue to wear masks. You know, even before this recent outbreak, people did wear masks in China simply because they have memories of the SARS outbreak, or because in some cities of pollution issues. So maybe this will sway Apple's decision in maybe bringing back the fingerprint ID on their devices. And the last one is we're seeing the use of technology to help in a hospital in Hangzhou. They are using robots to take medication for some patients in isolation. Again, this is a great use of technology. It stops human beings, and obviously it can cut down the transmission of the virus. So it's a couple of you know, it's a nice note to end the video on. You know, where technology is being used as a positive thing here rather than a negative thing. So okay, that now brings me to the end of the update for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another update. In the meantime, if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps us get out there, you know, to combat some of this sort of negative information that's circulating around YouTube and other social platforms. If you do like us, you know, please subscribe to the channel to get more information about what's going on. And if you really like us, hit those bells and you'll receive a notification as soon as we receive a video. I'd like to personally thank each and every one of you for watching us. It's very much appreciated. Okay, as always, for now, take care.